the world. This is Graham with TutorialClarity, and today in this lesson I'm going to introduce you to an element called HTML forms. The form element. What is a form element? Well, really the absolute most simplest way to put this is that a form element is used for submitting data. Ooh. No, it really is just that. I mean, it can contain a bunch of text fields or buttons, selection, checkboxes, really you name it, anything that requires, data. So you may have seen them in login forms, registration forms. Maybe you're on a profile website and you want to edit your details. So you click the edit button and a whole bunch of form data comes up. Well, that's what forms are. So one other thing I should mention is that we aren't actually going to be submitting or storing the data, because that would require a processing language like PHP, and that is an entire another series of tutorials, but I am definitely 100% going to cover forms and how to submit data and the different types of data. So for the sake of it all, just follow along. Now you'll notice up here I have all this stuff. This is basically a reference, so if you ever need to pause the video, or if you didn't understand something I said about describing one of these elements, because we're going to talk about all of them, just pause it and read the description. So to get started, I'm in Dreamweaver, and as always you can follow along in Notepad, but what I've done is I've gone to File, excuse me, and created a new document, and we're going to call this document up here in the title, we're just going to modify it and call it HTML forms. And so basically, to open a form, it is as simple as opening the form tag, left arrow, form, right arrow, and then closing it, like we close every other tag in HTML. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to cover is the input type equals text. So what we're going to say is, let's say first name, and then we're going to drop down a line, and we're going to say left arrow, input, type. This is the form input type here, and in quotations we're going to say text. It's just a regular text field, and we're going to say the name is first name, and the value equals enter your first, let's just call it first name with a space, like such. And basically if I come down here, you'll see there it is, first name and first name. Now, what is all this stuff? Well, I told you the type is the type of input. So you open up an input, and the attribute is, or a possible attribute you can use is the type attribute, and you have to declare which type it is. In this case, it's a text. The name of this is really highly important for when you actually submit the data, but it doesn't necessarily play any role in the actual data that's in here itself. By default, if you want to have text in the field, you might not, whatever, I'm just going to show it to you. You can have a value attribute, and whatever you put inside these quotations is going to appear in here, and there you can see it says first name. Alright, so the next one we're going to cover here is the password input. You know how you go to type in your password in a login form, and the passwords come up as, every character you type, it comes up as a circle? Well, that is actually because the input type in the form is a password input type, and HTML has one specifically for that, so we will ignore this, and let's say you wanted a password. You could type in password, and then input type equals, oops, I'm sorry about that. Typing is a little too fast today, and then you type password. Go figure, right? The type equals password, the name equals password, or pass. It could really, the name can be anything you want, just so long as it's easy to remember and to the point. And you don't want any value in there specifically for the password. It should always be blank. So if I come down here now, oh, that's one thing forgot to show you. You can see here that it actually keeps going horizontally and it doesn't drop down. That's because in a form you have to declare a line break, because some forms are horizontal and some are not. So if you want a space, just type in BR here, or line break is what that is short for, and you could type in your password there. I'm actually going to put 2 line breaks in between every element that we do in this tutorial for the sake of readability. Alright, so we're going to put 2 more line breaks. You really shouldn't delete these forward slashes, by the way. It's just you know, it's a bad habit of mine. So let's create a new one. What else are we going to cover here? Oh yeah, radio selection input. So you've seen the male or female types. You just put in male here, and you could do the same thing, same process for female. Input type equals radio. Exactly. Name equals male, and there is no value for this, so we're going to leave the value attribute blank. And you see here, male actually appears right next to the radio button. If you wanted to, you could place it after. Just copy and paste that. It says male. And if you wanted to do another one, let's create a line break. And let's just copy and paste it. You can definitely do that. Name equals female, and our text over here equals female. The type still stays as radio because it's one of these radio buttons. Alright, pretty good. Well, let's create two more here and drop down. Okay, the next one that we're going to cover is the button attribute. This one's good fun if you ever get into JavaScript. And definitely, yeah, I'm definitely going to have some tutorials on jQuery and JavaScript. That's what makes your websites really interactive and fun and pretty. But basically, if you want a button, it really is as simple as making the input type button. The name can be called click me. As I said, whatever's in the name attribute won't show up anyway. You type in the value, and the value is going to be whatever text is over the button. So in this case, we're going to have click me. And that is that. So now if I refresh down here, there it is. You can see it says click me. And yeah, but it actually won't do anything. That's the funny thing. You could keep clicking that and it wouldn't do anything because we haven't linked it to do anything. And that is where JavaScript comes in. But basically, the last one that we're going to cover here, the last form element, is the submit button. And the submit button is really important. Input type equals, yes, submit. But the submit button is really important. And here's why. All the data, let's say you filled in your first name, or you were filling in a login form and you did your password and username. Maybe you're on a registration form, you checked male or female, and you got all the data in there and you're ready to either hit login or register or send email, you know, whatever it might be. What the submit type equals, right here you see it says type equals submit. What the submit type does is it actually takes all the elements in here, all the data, and it sends it. But I know you're asking the question, where does it send it to? Well, normally it would go from this HTML page, the whole thing, and it would go to a PHP document on the back end. The PHP would redirect you and you would be logged in or registered, or you would edit your profile or whatever. The PHP, what it does is it actually handles all the data. It is a data handler. Believe you me, PHP is really good at handling data. So how do you if you had a PHP document, theoretically speaking, how would you get this data there? Well, what you do is you come up here and you say action equals, let's call this process.php space the method equals post. Now you're like, hold on, I'm gonna explain this. Don't worry, calm down, take a deep breath. Form action. Much like an input has an attribute, so does the form. And the action is the attribute for form. Now whatever's in the quotations is going to specify which document, or which PHP document, in this case, all this data is going to be submitted to when you click the submit button. So you click the submit button and all the data goes to process.php.